Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to decode the essential metrics that really are the vital signs for any SaaS business. These are the numbers that tell you if you're healthy, if you're growing, or maybe if you're in need of a little strategic checkup. So let's dive right in.
So we're starting with this quote from our source material because it just cuts right to the heart of the matter. In the world of software as a service, you just can't rely on gut feelings. You have to prove what's working and what isn't with cold, hard data. Without it, you're pretty much flying blind.
The best way to really think about all these metrics is like a big health checkup for your business. Each number is like a different test. It's your pulse, your blood pressure, your temperature. And it's only when you look at them all together that you get that complete, honest picture of your company's actual condition.
Every customer has a story, and that story always begins in the same place. So for Chapter 1, we are looking at the cost of acquisition. This is all about what it really takes in time, effort, and of course, money to get a brand new customer through your virtual front door.
Okay, so our first core metric is the customer acquisition cost, or what everyone calls CAC. Simply put, this is how much you spend on sales and marketing divided by the number of new customers you got in that same time frame. This number, right here, is the absolute bedrock of your entire business model.
All right, let's put some numbers to this to make it super clear, using the example from our source. Let's say you spend $100,000 on sales and marketing in 1 month, and in that month, you get 100 new customers. Well, you do the math, your CAC is a nice clean $1,000. Knowing this number is step 1 to building something that's actually profitable.
Now, it's also super important to get that the path to becoming a customer isn't just one step. A marketing qualified lead and MQL, they're still just kind of window shopping. Maybe they downloaded an ebook. But a sales qualified lead and SQL, they are ready for a real conversation. Knowing that difference is absolutely key to an efficient process.
And that leads us right into the lead to customer rate. Think of this metric as a report card for your whole sales process. It's the percentage of those leads that actually convert and become paying customers. If you've got a low number here, it's a huge sign that you've got a leak in your funnel that you need to go fix and fast.
Okay, so we got the customer. Awesome. Chapter 2 of their story has to answer the most important question of all. Was it worth it? Here, we're going to shift our focus from that initial cost to the long-term value that customer actually brings to the table. But here's the thing. You can't possibly understand value until you understand loss. Customer churn is just the percentage of customers who cancel their subscription in a certain period. A high churn rate, that's like trying to fill a bucket with a giant hole on the bottom. All that hard work you did to get the customers just leaks right back out.
So how do we figure out what a customer's total worth is over time? Well, that's where customer lifetime value, or CLV, comes in. And it's actually a pretty simple 3-step process. First, you use your churn rate to figure out a customer's average lifespan. Then you find your average revenue per account, you multiply those two numbers together, and bam, you've got your CLV.
And this right here is where the whole story comes together. The value you get from a customer, their CLV, has to be higher than what it cost you to get them. The CAC. It has to. If that simple equation is out of whack, your entire business model is fundamentally broken. It's just not going to work long term.
This brings us to what you could call the golden ratio for SaaS health. A 1-to-1 LTV to CAC ratio? That's a huge red flag. You're basically spending $1 just to make $1 back. What you're aiming for is that 3-to-1 ratio. That signals a healthy, efficient business that's actually ready to scale. But hey, financials only tell you half the story, right? For Chapter 3, we've got to know how our customers are actually feeling, because a profitable customer who's about to cancel isn't really that valuable. So it's time to move from the financial metrics to the human ones.
So the whole idea here is to get ahead of the problem. Instead of just waiting for an angry customer to call and cancel, you can actually measure how they're engaging with your product. This lets you predict their behavior and step in to help before they even decide they want to leave.
A really great tool for this is the Customer Engagement Score. It's simple, really. You just assign point values to different actions, like how often they log in, or if they use a key feature, and you create a score. This lets you easily see who's highly engaged and, more importantly, who's falling into that low engagement zone and might need a little nudge.
Now, if you take that a step further, you get the Customer Health Score. This is a predictive metric. It combines that engagement data with other signals, like maybe how many support tickets they've filed, to identify customers who are at a high risk of churning. It's basically an early warning system for your customer success team.
Of course, sometimes the simplest way to check on someone's health is just to ask them how they're doing. And that's exactly what the Net Promoter Score, or NPS, does. It asks one single powerful question, and that answer gives you a direct, quantifiable measure of how loyal and satisfied your customers really are.
All right, now for our final chapter. Let's say you're acquiring customers efficiently. Their lifetime value is high, and they're happy. So how do you turn that strong foundation into real, scalable growth? This is where we look at the engine of the business.
The absolute lifeblood of any SaaS business is recurring revenue, whether you measure it monthly as MRR or annually as ARR. This is that predictable stream of income that gives you the stability you need to invest in future growth. It's everything.
And you know, some of the absolute best, most profitable growth comes from the customers you already have. This is called expansion revenue. It happens when your happy customers upgrade to a bigger plan, or they buy another one of your products, or they add on a new feature. This is the ultimate proof that your product is delivering massive value.
So, what's the big picture here? The key thing to remember is that none of these metrics exist in a vacuum. They aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They are all interconnected chapters in one single story. And together, they tell the complete journey of a customer, from the very first time they hear about you, all the way to becoming a loyal fan.
Which brings us to a final question, and I really want you to think about this one. We've gone over a whole dashboard of metrics today, but if you were forced to pick just one, which single number do you think tells the most important, most powerful story about your business? Thinking through that really reveals what matters most. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.